Welcome back to our podcast, the OPERAfit podcast. I am so thrilled with how much feedback and suggestions and engagement we've had from you guys. It has been a phenomenal journey so far, and we're only just getting started. Obviously, we have a guest here with us today. I'm going to let Emily introduce her in just a second, but today we are talking about nutrition. Today we are bringing our A game to bringing you some new resource and content to consult about an ongoing conversation we've been having. We're going to continue having opening the dialogue to what it is, holistic nutrition is, and what I'm not even gonna begin to know what we're gonna learn today.
We're all gonna have our minds blown.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pass it to Emily to introduce this amazing human in my presence in my apartment. I'm so excited.
Well, I think we go way back.
Yeah.
I don't remember when we didn't know you. When our families didn't know each other.
I babysat you.
She babysat me.
No way.
Yes.
What?
Oh yes.
I would never have guessed that.
It is a deep and beautiful history. The Loof Burrows and the Dyers. Yes. So both Californians. Jessica has for several years been living with her beautiful husband in the city, and has a rich career as both a performer and a nutritionist and holistic health coach, guru, guide. And can you share with everybody a little bit about ways that manifests now in the city and a little bit about your work?
Yeah, absolutely. I've lived in New York for 12 and a half years, so I think I consider myself a true New Yorker.
Yeah.
I am from Orange County, California. I met my husband on the streets of New York. That's a fun fact.
What?
Yes, indeed. I catered my own wedding.
Yes! Oh my gosh, this is an amazing, we don't have to tell the whole story, but this is incredible.
I live a very colorful life. Here in the city, you move to New York City and you're just dumped into culture and dumped into New York experiences, new experiences. Life in Orange County is really beautiful, but it's suburbia. It's one thing. So it's been an awesome journey here. I moved to the city specifically to pursue Broadway. Never got there, haven't gotten there yet. But did some really beautiful readings and did a few off-Broadway things, and my journey has kind of oscillated between health and performing. So I moved here performing, and then I ran into some health issues, so I decided to just take some time off, and I jumped into a nanny position full-time, and I went to school. I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and I was getting healthier, and I was also babysitting these kids and preparing them foods, like freezer foods, quesadillas and all this stuff.
Chicken nuggets.
And they would reach for my stuff. They would reach for my garbanzo beans and my avocado. And so from there, my family food makeover was born.
Yes!
So I've been working in the city with families, cooking for children. Recently, it's been cooking for children who have digestive disorders or they're on the autism spectrum, or they're just picky eating. So that's been like a surprise arm in my career that I've been really excited about, been really great. And then I've been health coaching for almost 8 years, just on the certification, on the education that I got at Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And I say that because I most recently started another credential program called the School for Applied Functional Medicine. So I'm learning all about functional medicine, what that is, the root cause of people's dis-ease in the body.
Yes.
And in turn, I'm finding the root cause of my dis-ease in the body and disease, doctors have called me a mystery many times before, so I decided I need to become my own health advocate. And what does that mean? Well, getting some major education. So
I'm curious, what is it that you struggled with, or that, that dis-ease and disease that you have experienced?
I wonder, if we're talking about root causes, I wonder when it started, and I'm very sure it started with childhood. You look at my genetics of the family, there's cancer in the family, there's thyroid disease, there's some gut dysbiosis going on, but really I didn't understand what all these things were. So if we're backing up, in my 20s as a performer, I really struggled with a lot of digestive discomfort, a lot of depression, and everything was slow. I had dyslexia, I had ADD. Now that I've learned what I learned, I had thyroid disease and no one told me. Wow. And I look back, I have blood labs from when I was 28, and I look back and my TSH is high. But you know what? It's functionally high. It is not Western medicine high. Like in Western medicine, you look at the reference range. Well, that's an average of 95% of the people in America, and regionally speaking. Yeah. So functional medicine takes a look at the specific reference ranges, meaning the optimal reference ranges. Yeah. So I definitely took us. I'm telling you, you have to keep me in line.
I love it.
It's good.
Yeah, we're learning.
Good. Yeah.
So that took your interest and passion into wellness for yourself and research.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right. So at IIN, at my first schooling, I realized the root cause of my depression, the root cause of my gut dysbiosis. So I really struggled with candida overgrowth. I don't know if you guys have heard. Oh, man. And
for our listeners, a little...
Yeah, no, true. Let's just call it a yeast overgrowth. Like candida, that form of bacteria is always in our guts. But if it's fed by sugar, refined carbs, emotional trauma, sorrow, depression, right? Everything is connected. Yeah. We have this HPATG axis, and it's all of our hormones. Yeah, it's, it's like that science stuff. I'm an artist. I'm talking about science. Awesome. Oh my gosh. And you know what? It all starts with the hypothalamus, how we perceive the world, because how we perceive the world is going to tell the rest of our hormones how to act, and it's going to tell our cells, like, how are we doing today? Yeah. How does the immune system need to act upon how we're perceiving life? Yes. So if we're perceiving life in a matter of appreciation and gratitude, even we're in the depths of despair, even in sorrow, our body is going to really uphold us, you know? So that's been a big journey. I was a successful performer, and then I fell into some health issues and really needed to handle the health issues. And then I fell into success again. So like the biggest things that I've learned is that it's not urgent. This performing career is not urgent. It's going to be around forever. People need art. Historically, we needed art since day one. God created art in the Garden of Eden. It's just, we need that to feed our soul. So I continue to feed my art, but right now I'm absolutely immersed in this health business.
Do you find you work with a lot of singers because of your background? Do you attract a lot of clients who are singers?
Yeah, absolutely. In my own health illuminated business, I do work with a lot of actors, a lot of performers, and I'm in the musical theater world. So that's where my gals come in. But at the wellness center, I work at NAO Wellness Center in the West Village. Nikki Ostrower owns it. You say Now Nutrition. It's her initials.
Got it.
I get Broadway performers, I get people of all walks, right? So like bankers and people who work in news and bread makers, I don't know, but anyway. But so that's a fun surprise when I get a Broadway performer and I'm like, oh yeah, I saw you in Wicked.
That's incredible.
Right? Yes. Yeah.
So that's amazing.
So in that vein, do you find any commonalities between what people are struggling with and misinformation, like physically, and ways that they maybe have tried to self-treat before coming to you?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of it has to do with fad diets, right? I'm going to try gluten-free. That's the next best fad. I'm going to try paleo. I'm going to try vegan. And they either latch onto something and really go for it for a few years, or it's just all very, very confusing. They don't know which, diet plan to conquer. And so that's why they come to me for clarity. I have some people who come and they say, I'm a strict vegan, I do not want to eat meat, don't tell me to eat meat. So I'll be like, okay, well, I'm a health coach. That means I get to support you where you're at. Yes. So how can I support you until we just find that it's not working? Right. So I will optimally support someone who wants to be a vegan, but if you can tell by my speech, I'm obviously a meat eater. Like I really do believe that you must, if you're going to eat meat, it must be from happy cows and happy pigs. We've honored the life, and anything that they've taken in, they have a healthy body, right? Like a little thing, a little tip is they have more omega-3s. Cows and pigs, especially, more omega-3s that we get into our body when they've lived a life eating grass and being in the sun.
Interesting.
Conventionally, if they're in the big farming practices, eating genetically modified grain and being in the dark all their lives and getting shot up with antibiotics and hormones, they're going to create a lot of omega-6 fats,
which we already get too much of anyway.
Exactly. Very good. Yes, absolutely. So we could become inflamed, and some of it turns into trans fats in the body, and that's the bad kind of fat.
Interesting.
Yeah. So back to your question, because again I take tangents, but no,
I love
them. Good. So that is a theme. That's a theme that people come in. They're confused about what diet to try.
Yeah.
So I really want to break it down. It's really a lifestyle. Where do you come from? What's your history? How did you grow up? Because memories are they're a part of our immune system, and they're a part of our nervous system because they share cells. That's super awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it's like what do you want from your life? What do you want in your life? And then also, what are those things that you're struggling with? Because if you're struggling with an amino acid, like breaking down amino acids, and then you're not making neurotransmitters in your gut, like you're not having access to the good feel-good serotonin in your brain.
How do you measure that? Is that a test thing that you do at the beginning of working with someone?
Functionally speaking, at a functional medicine doctor's office, you can test for neurotransmitters. It's a very esoteric test. Okay. So really you can break it down, like, do you have these kinds of symptoms? Being a health coach, I can recommend, like, a certain supplement that will help, a certain specific amino acid. But really, let's bring it down to like maximizing the lowest hanging fruit. Like, are you chewing your food well? Seriously, people chew like maybe 3 or 4 times and then gulp it down. And we expect our stomach acid to like break down all those foods, but it really puts it puts big pressure on our digestive system, and it's no good. We actually have digestive dysfunction just by not chewing. So let's say we chew our food down to applesauce in the mouth, we swallow it, then our stomach acid and our digestive enzymes can fully isolate all of the amino acids and all of the molecules that then absorb in the small intestine and then remake our body, and neurotransmitters are made from the amino acid, or serotonin, a neurotransmitter, is made from tryptophan. Tryptophan comes from animal meat. Tryptophan needs to be turned into serotonin, feel-good hormone, which needs to be turned into melatonin, which helps us go to sleep. Right? Do you see? It's like all...
So it's so square one. Like, people are coming in with these big, like, huge lifestyle, bigger than is necessary lifestyle questions, and hoping for these answers and stuff. But you find probably, it's sounding like you're finding the most effective and salient guidance that you have to start with is kind of going back to basics.
I love that observation. That's so important to say, because I see people from Crohn's disease to like an esoteric MTHFR gene or CBS gene to simply depression and anxiety. Not that it's simple, it's very, hard. But it is a commonality is to go back to the raw materials of what makes a healthy person. Water. How about drinking water throughout the day? Pure water, not sparkling water, you know?
Can I ask you a side note? I'm going to tangent you. I have wondered, and I want to know the science of sparkling water versus that. And I know in experience the sparkling water does not feel as hydrating as regular water, but so many people tout sparkling water as being the same.
Doesn't it kind of feel a little fancier? Like, don't you feel a little more classy?
I'll have a Pellegrino.
I'd love to know. Exactly, I'd love to know.
What do you think about it?
The CO2 that's put into the water is acidic into the body.
Got it.
So that's one. And then also it puts gas into the body. Do you already have a gassy body? Are you burping or the other way? You know what I mean? Or are you bloating and the gas is not going anywhere? Don't feed gas to gas. That would be a good idea.
Cool. Yeah. But is it also hydrating, or is the CO2 addition negating the water?
That's no one can measure that really. But it is, I believe it's dehydrating. Cool. Like, there's nothing better than pure water.
Sure.
Right.
You heard it here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I tangentialized here, but
that's good.
No, that's okay. I was just talking about, like, simply put, the low-hanging fruit. We want to maximize water, maximize oxygen, maximize sleep. You know, like I see CEOs and these people, lawyers coming in, they get 5 hours of sleep. They're career driven. It is really beautiful, but they forget about themselves.
Well-being.
And they come in, they have these digestive disorders, or, I have this acne, what's going on?
Right.
Well, stress in the body. I mean, that's, stress is a precursor to inflammation, and inflammation is a precursor to disease, so let's just start at the basics for some people.
Right, yeah.
If I'm seeing someone who's immersed in health already and they're like super expert, they already know what to do, excellent, great. We can get really specific with food, really specific with supplements, and so on.
So when you've run the gamut of assessments and you've covered the bases of basics, right? Like getting the mindfulness component to your sleep, to your experience with food, to the intentionality you have with food. Is your functional medicine work and your client to client work based on finding the ideal diet for that human? Like, is it like, does it get down to, hey, apples aren't great for your digestive system, and like, or this portion of this kind of food, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, how does that work for you?
It does get
your
very
clients?
specific. Oh gosh, it really absolutely depends. We can be talking about insulin resistance, and in women we can be talking about PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, and they're connected. We could be talking about all sorts of things. That CBS gene, like that is real thing. That's a methylation issue. They don't know how to detoxify. And I am always talking about detoxification of the liver. It's so important. We're really good phase 1 up-regulators. We get in up-regulates by cigarettes, by alcohol, by junk food, by caffeine. But we're terrible phase 2 regulators. That's up-regulated by cruciferous vegetables and onions and garlic. And water and all of those things. And when you have the CBS gene, or if you have something like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, that's like big right now. Everyone has SIBO.
Yeah.
And the doctors will say go on a FODMAP diet, so you can't have apples, like you said. I think that's what you were alluding to.
Yes.
It's like, okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the individual. Is the FODMAP right for you?
Right.
Yes.
Because finally, Western medicine has actually grabbed onto some sort of nutritional diet that works. This is a first. And so everyone is saying FODMAP. But wait a minute. If someone on SIBO is on a FODMAP and they stop eating onions and broccoli and asparagus and Brussels sprouts and all those things that upregulate phase 2, what's going to happen there?
Right.
Why
That's
not talk
fascinating.
about the way to cook them properly? Like if they even need to be down into baby food, which that's gross. So I make a beautiful soup with bone broth, right? But so it can get like that. It can get very specific like that. The Candida diet, man, that's a tough one. But can the client do the diet? Great. I might have this like super diet that I've written for them, specifically for them, because I'm catering to the individual. But can they do it? Can they
prepare
take out
the food?
Can they prepare the food? That's one thing. Can they take out what they're addicted to? Because we really and addiction is a very strong word. I apologize if that's offensive. But just those things, like we just want to enjoy life.
Yeah.
We want to have our cup of coffee in the morning. We want to have chocolate cake when it's your birthday.
Yeah.
But where it really does spiral down is there's candy at the office, and then we're celebrating something else, and then someone is in town, and then drinks with a friend, and then it's just like junk food in abundance. Where's the exception?
Yeah.
So can we find a baseline?
Yeah.
And if I put someone on this diet, I tell them, look, here's the gold standard, but we got to work up to it.
Right.
So let's work on upgrades. Like you
Upgrades.
really, that's like a big buzzword for me.
Yeah,
And it's a very positive way to spin it. So like if
Instead
someone
of goals.
Instead of
Something that you're like,
yes,
I feel
I
like I'm not gonna make it. But upgrades is such
Exactly.
like
I upgraded to
did
this
it.
food.
I'm upgrading myself.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I love it. I
That's
love
really
it.
good.
Okay, good. So let's say someone is addicted to jelly beans or needs jelly beans every day. They're at the office or donuts or something, but jelly beans specifically.
Sure.
Okay. I'm gonna tell them, is there another gummy thing that you like? Can we make an equivalent, but one that doesn't use red dye 40 and all those like dyes and high fructose corn syrup? Can we find something with cane sugar? There's your upgrade.
Yeah.
You're up leveling or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then from there, okay, it's been a month or two. Can we move to honey and maple syrup? can you start making your own chocolate truffles? Like,
right?
Yeah. And that's what you have. And then from there, can we completely eliminate sugar and add in things like stevia or sugar alcohols like erythritol and xylitol? Some people can't do it. They would rather live without sugar, and that's fine. But
I'm okay with stevia.
Yeah,
I'm
me
totally
too.
A winner.
Not in coffee. It's gross in coffee, but in tea.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm curious. So, like, if you could say, man, I wish all my clients that came to me asked these sorts of questions about themselves. Like, what are some baseline thought sparkers that you would have people start working on before they came to you?
Wow, I love that. That's really great. That is such a good question.
I didn't ask you this before.
No, that's right. I was not prompted.
Yeah. I was not prompted.
No, it's good. Okay.
Or what are some little things that you would have the people who can't get to you or only have access to your blog? What are some more like little sprinklings of consciousness or awareness that you would have them, have in their ethers?
Yeah.
Especially for people who are using their bodies regularly as their instrument and people who struggle with candida and acid reflux. I know that's like a huge...
No, it's helping me. It's giving me time.
Okay.
No. Okay. This is the number one thing. This is... I don't think you're gonna think like, oh, I didn't know she was going there. But I think it's really the emotional, spiritual life.
Boom.
Oh.
Boom.
Yeah, a big shocker. But you know what? If someone is not connected to their soul, to like themselves and their most quietest time, most people in New York do not have time to be quiet. They don't know what they're like in their most quietest time. Or when they come home, they turn on the TV and they go to sleep.
Just constant noise.
Yes.
And to bring it full circle with our OPERAfit listeners, we've been talking about what is our essential being. Rather than all of the mechanisms that we have in place for survival mode or for just learned habits and learned relationships and crutches and numbing tools to get away from fear and get away from unpleasant, like not being with those unpleasant emotions where we just distract and avoid and or power through. Instead, finding access to that essential being, finding access to who you are and in the quietest of circumstances, and then bringing that presence and experience to all relationships, your relationship with the world, your relationship with your significant other, relationship to like new friends, or singing. Yourself. So I relate so powerfully with that because I know that that's part of why I went into life coaching, that my experience mentally, when I started making those shifts and made even more shifts over the years, my experience with food and like just the thought of food as well as the experience of eating food has changed so much. And my body has internalized totally different experience of food. I've struggled, we haven't talked about this before now, but I've struggled with reflux and IBS for a long time, and that's why I got into health in general and coaching, all of that. Amazing. And it's so I'm going to pick her brain and bring stuff to you guys about this FODMAP thing, because FODMAP was very helpful for me, but it's reached a limit now. And like, garlic and onions are huge no-nos to me. And yet I see such a limit to like, what am I lacking now in my body? Yeah. But anyway, I'm circling back that like the emotional, I agree. I think the emotional component and the relationship we have with what we're internalizing from the world around us, whether it's food and emotions, that the mindfulness, the emotional, the spiritual connection that you have in life influences everything, influences the processing of it all. Like,
if you're brave enough to go there. Right. It's very vulnerable to do that. Yeah. Very vulnerable. There's a tenet of holistic health across the board, and it's spirituality. So we talk about nutrition, but we talk about nutrition 50% of the time. Yeah. It's spirituality, career, exercise, and relationships, and that does include relationships with yourself. Yeah. And that's why I say emotional spiritual, because it is about a relationship with yourself, but it's also about your spirituality. So if someone has, I'm always asking, okay, do you belong to a certain religion, or do you have a spirituality? Yeah. And that can be, it can be anywhere from Christianity to nature to atheism. But I tell them they must stand on one. They must pick one, and if they don't know, then search it out.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to, then I will tell them resources for atheism, like to really invest in something, make a choice, be intentional about the spirituality. I'm like, sorry.
Be spiritual.
Exactly. But that's going to help you come down and be with yourself and go to your journal and write about how you're feeling that day or how you're processing a certain interaction that day, or how even you're processing, your weaknesses in life, right? We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, we all have struggles. Where did those struggles go?
Right.
Yeah. They still stay in the brain when we turn on that TV show.
Yeah.
They still stay in the brain when we go have that glass of wine, like just like our bodies need to detox, our brains, our minds need to detox. And so very, very important to go to your journal or write a gratitude list.
Yeah.
Like I was with a client the other day. I said, why don't you start with 3 things every night, a gratitude journal. She's like, what do I write about? Like, I'm grateful for my dog. I'm like, okay.
Ta-da!
Grateful for your dog. She's like, well, what about the next day if I'm grateful for my dog? I was like, well, why don't you say why you're grateful?
Explore the dog.
Expand on that. So it can go many different ways. But I picked out this quote today, so I'm going to read it. I can't even say this last name, but it's from Danielle Laporte.
I love Danielle Laporte. Oh my God.
So, like,
everyone,
the
please go
Desire
listen to
Map.
her.
You can download her Desire Map PDF. And so this quote was in here, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is me. Okay. If you begin to understand what you are without trying to change it, then what you are undergoes a transformation.
Wow.
Right? So like full acceptance of who you are. Full acceptance of this 5'11", this 5'11" woman, who that I think to be honest, like if we're looking back at my past, without living like this destroyed me. I was living for my colleagues, for my director, for my castmates, for my reviews, for anything. And you know what that turned into here in the city? Like it turned into, I needed acceptance from the cash register person. I needed acceptance from everyone. And if I didn't get it, I was not fulfilled that day. I was not happy. I was depressed. I was sad. And that's just like, I'm just re-envisioning my performing career. If I am to go back into performing one of these days, it is going to have to be standing on the ground of me understanding myself, my talent, why I was given this talent, and why I feel I need to express myself in this way. And then like create a barrier around me and never read reviews until the show closes, because it doesn't matter. You're like, if you're fully expressing yourself, you're fully engaging in your authenticity, and you're making choices in the character, choices in even your voice teacher, or like what you ate that morning, like you're building yourself every day. And if you can stand on that, then you deserve to share it with people. Then you deserve to serve your community. And if you're not there yet, like me, admittedly so, I'm not there yet, I can serve my community in this beautiful health business. Like I am so fulfilled every day. I can't wait to read the next, module in school and all this stuff. So that's a big advice there. Yeah.
I love that. I'm actually going to share this quote with OPERAfit so that and direct you to Danielle Laporte, because wow.
Listen, I need to get on this whole thing with her. Okay.
It's so good. Yeah.
She's big.
But, and if you guys don't know how to like journal or like where to start, why don't you just start with this desire map and like pick one question to prompt your journal time, and then spend 15 minutes in the morning or every other day.
And actually in coupling with our podcast, we are every other week we're sending kind of a newsletter vibe. We haven't named it just yet, but some sort of email in everybody's inbox in between the weeks that we don't have a podcast, to offer some sort of prompt to like share what my journey is as their coach and leader, but also be in the work with them and offering a prompt for all of us to engage in conversation and dialogue and journaling about. So I may be hitting you up for like ideas and resources for.
Well, I love that you say that, because any practitioner or any leader needs to be engaged in the work as well. If we're kind of like standing up there dictating and not living it, that's like a very good reminder for when I don't want to exercise or when I would rather have the gluten-free something instead of, you know, what I'm suggesting to a client.
Yeah.
Well, I'm keeping my clients available, so I should keep myself available. Not available.
No, I like that you said available.
Accountable.
But available also to
available to vulnerability.
to the upgrade.
Yeah.
Available to the
Awesome.
best choice.
Yeah. Open hearts.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Jessica.
Yeah.
I got so much out of just these 30 minutes with you.
Great.
I'd love to have you back on at some point in the future.
too.
I'd love to consult her. For those of you keeping abreast with the OPERAfit Singer resource, things are probably in the works for that. So thank you so much to Jessica. Thank you so much to Emily for inviting Jessica and merging these worlds, because I see a really amazing resource. We're going to attach all of her contact information and website for you guys to check her out, to contact her if you want to work personally with her. I may even hit you up. I'm very excited. Thank you for listening and tuning in, and we will see you next time. Thank you, guys.
Ciao.